last but not the least speaker, Brother Paul Raj, dealing with the core of our vocation as religious brothers. Brother Paul Raj is the principal of Vidyadip College of Theology in Bangalore. He has served on the international leadership team of the congregation and also has been the global executive secretary of the Gabriel Secretariat for Justice, Peace and Integrity of Creation. We are very happy to have you, Brother Paul Raj. Over to Brother Paul Raj.
Greetings to all of you. Since I see a very mixed group of listeners, not only brothers here, I see many our teachers of our schools and some collaborators. So I shall make this short sharing very general, not specifically addressing the brothers only. So that is my first observation. Secondly, I see people from different parts of the world. So I shall also make it, try to make it a little more universal in the context of this presentation. So the challenges and response as religious brothers or as collaborators collaborating with these religious brothers in their institutions. How are we called for a commitment to greater brotherhood and sisterhood, especially in this context? So in my view, the response of these brothers and those who are collaborating with the brothers in the pre-pandemic, during the pandemic and post-pandemic world is not radically different. The challenges are more. So the challenges are more now. So the response has to be more intense and more coordinated. And commitment has been more forthcoming. Very specifically, the Montfortian Gabrielite response has to make a transition from welfare model to rights-based approach. This is very, very important. Distributing food, giving some money, giving some kit, etc. All these comes under a welfare model. Now, UN will talk about HRBA, Human Rights-Based Approach. HRBA. This is the model internationally they are proposing. Now, what they say, and everybody agrees, any NGO would agree, a human rights-based approach leads to better and more sustainable human development outcome than any welfare-based model. So you will notice in all the Montfortian Gabrielite responses and responses of any of our schools, any of our collaborators, I think vastly we have been stuck with this welfare-based approach, which is not sustainable. This is the first observation I have to make. Now, let us come to what has been our inspiration. In the wonderful church document in Pope John Paul II, the Saint John Paul II, he brought out called Vita Consecrata, that is a consecrated life, an important document. In that article, for the first time, the Catholic Church spoke about the religious brothers in 2 articles. Out of that, in one article, number 60, there is 2-3 sentences are most powerful. I think this is the first time the Catholic Church has officially spoken to these religious brothers. They say the word brother suggests very rich spirituality. Why? Because these brothers are called to be brothers of Jesus Christ, number 1. Number 2, they are called to be brothers to one another. Number 3, they are called to be brothers to everyone. And number 4, they are called for a greater brotherhood. So I am supposed to focus on this last one. So this greater brotherhood is what we need to see, especially how we have been responding, especially as teachers and other collaborators in the Montfort schools all over the world, as the admirers and friends of Montfort brothers, and as Montfort brothers, or as sisters who are collaborating with the Montfort brothers. We all of us come under this term called greater brotherhood or greater sisterhood. The church has always been very exclusive language they have been using. That is why only brotherhood they have used. So I'm adding sisterhood. Now, these pandemic times or the post-pandemic times, they are calling out for establishing really a greater brotherhood and sisterhood in the church, in all our institutions, and in the world. So in the earlier 4 sharing, we have listened how the Montfort brothers and the others have responded. So I will not touch upon that. I am going to speak under 3 very small headings, how the brothers and the collaborators of the Montfort brothers and the others can respond under 3 headings. Number 1, vast majority of the brothers' congregations are involved in education mission. And to that, the Montfort brothers and Gabriel also largely involved in education mission. That is number 1. So how the response of these brothers and the others leading to greater brotherhood can be under this education mission. Number 2, under evangelization. It involves many areas. Number 3, societal transformation. So how the Montfort brothers have been responding all these years, I have put them under these 3 headings. Let me take the first one. This educative mission, the challenges in educative mission, the way we have responded and the way we could respond. Number 1, education to handle or manage a crisis. Did these Montfortian educational institutions equip their men and women, including teachers and the students, with a tool to handle this crisis called the pandemic? Or we were busy with online classes only? In what way a Montfortian Gabriel educational system come out creatively with a methodology to handle this pandemic for the students and for the teachers? Resilience, how we made an effort, or education to find meaning and solution during a crisis like this COVID-19 or the post-pandemic. We are no different from the governments and the corporate groups who have responded to this with online classes, online fee collection, and online sum methods. And as many said, 52% of, at least I'm talking about the Karnataka state where I am, 52% of the students in the schools in Karnataka did not have access to equipment, to network, to technology, and to any facilities to attend online classes. Now, have as educators, Montfortian Gabriel educators, have taken this fact into account to take a statistics of how our online education or any education or a tool to handle this crisis have reached this. I was reading yesterday, Shakespeare wrote this masterpiece Macbeth during a pandemic, it seems. During pandemic, he wrote 2 classics. One was Macbeth. And we read in the papers, quite a few NGOs have come out in an extraordinarily creative way to cater to the needs of the marginalized during this pandemic. I will explain it a little later. The second part under that education is the FSG pedagogy. FSG, the Montfort brothers pedagogy. The manner and style, our manner and style largely resembled the government and the big private players in education. Any creative or socially empowering models did we think out? Did we manifest during such emergency, during such lockdown period? Did we have anything at all? Or like the government, we went the government way? The same usual educational pedagogy, online classes, online exam, online office works like others. I think this is very, very important. Do we have a Montfortian Gabrielite educational pedagogy to respond to such situations? The second, I come to the second one, the evangelization. The challenges and response in the evangelization mission. Under that, number 1, collective witnessing as a congregation or as a province or as a community or as a school. How much and how effectively we have been witnessing during these times. That is brotherhood or sisterhood beyond boundaries, beyond boundaries. This Fratelli Tuti document will talk about that. Number two, under that, in our evangelization initiative, when I say evangelization, it also includes education, all the other missions that we are involved in collaboration with all our collaborators and associates, well-wishers, in all our evangelization initiatives. What has happened so far? What has been our responses besides some financial help given by some persons here and there? Some NGOs have gone far beyond boundaries and have participated not only in welfare efforts, but have shown very great initiative. I'll give a simple example. There is an NGO in Bangalore, not a religious NGO, who have done a survey, very massive survey of about 80,000 migrants. A survey, they have accompanied them on their route and they have resettled them. Number two, there are other private players have done an awareness on health and hygiene. There is an NGO who trained the farmers online. Many farmers were committing suicide. They went after these farmers, gathered them, gave them online training and online solace and comfort. There were some groups who were busy during this pandemic time in creating a toolkit for the differently abled children, how to manage this pandemic. There were some organizations who were preparing guidelines for the parents and for the students during this pandemic and post-pandemic, how to handle. Unimaginable. These are not religious groups. These are ordinary private groups. There were quite a few groups got involved in advocacy, preparing future strategy, post-pandemic, guidelines for online learning, especially guidelines for online learning for the marginalized. Now, these are called human rights-based approach to an emergency or a pandemic situation like that. Point number three under this second evangelization is, we also need to speak of the anxiety and the silent participation of, let me talk about the Montfort brothers, nearly 300 retired and sick brothers of the Brothers of St. Gabriel all over the world in our retirement homes. I was taking a statistic yesterday. In India, we have almost 96 retired brothers in Indian provinces, the sick and retired. I'm sure in the world, in the 33, 34 places where we are working in the countries, put together, we may have about 200 plus. So about 300 plus retired, semi-retired, and sick brothers of St. Gabriel all over the world. Now, this is very important. These men who have toiled hard and now who are in the retirement homes, it is important their individual and collective witnessing their fears, their anxieties, their moments of doubt, their hope, and their death. There are many of them who have passed away. All this is a real challenge for us as we think about a response. So our responses as the Montfortian Gabrielite collaborators and as Montfortians in these critical times have to be inspired by these hopes and doubts of these elderly men. The third point, the last one, societal transformation. We can call it as a JPIC, justice, peace, and integrity of creation. Under this, the first point is, this pandemic time surely necessitated welfare approach. In most cases, we need to respond immediately. And we as Brothers of St. Gabriel were largely involved in welfare approaches at the base level. But we also have here and there quite a few brothers and organizations into rights-based approach. But largely as a congregation, we are yet to move, and even as institutions, yet to move into HRBA model, human rights-based approach, that level and advocacy. This has not really caught up with us. As a result of this conference, I am very hopeful that we have to make this shift from welfare-based base model methodology to human rights-based approaches. The second point in this is this latest document, Encyclical from Rome, Fratelli Tuti, it is more pertaining to us. Our name has been used as a title of this document. And this is actually Pope Francis, a renewed social teaching of the church. It's a renewed social teaching. And the brothers of St. Gabriel and our collaborators can learn a lot, especially about our challenges in this. And this particular encyclical is a continuation of Pope Francis' teaching of Catholic social teaching. He speaks about commodification of natural resources. He talks against that. And he also says in this document, fraternity, which means brotherhood, is not just a feeling, it is not just an emotion, it is an action. The Pope also very interestingly changes the word fraternity into a political message. This is very powerful. He actually gives a new twist to this word from fraternity to a political message, what we call justice, peace, integrity, creation. The fact that Pope Francis has taken inspiration for this encyclical from outside of the church. One grand imam, a Muslim, he has taken from Orthodox Church. He has taken from outside. He has quoted a Indian Bishops' Council. He has quoted his own homilies. Much less he has quoted many earlier church documents. It's very interesting. It is out of the ordinary. It's a very revolutionary. I think it's very important is to understand the Pope has used the word universality 55 times in this document. Universality, that is beyond boundaries. So the public role of the church, public role is, the Pope is talking in Article 276, the public role of the church is commitment on justice. The public role of the church is the commitment of the churches for justice. I think this is very important. The last point, our educational system, especially the FSG or BSG, Brothers of St. Gabriel, our evangelism efforts, our societal transformation have to be seen, all these three, as the integral part of our brotherhood, our sisterhood mission and lifestyle. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brother Paul Raj. I think a very fitting ending to our 2 days conference, particularly emphasizing on this opportunity that we have to move from a welfare model into which we have grown the last 300 years and more of the education mission, evangelical mission, social transformative mission of the Brothers of St. Gabriel to a rights-based approach, a political approach, an approach that structurally transforms our society. So thank you very much, Brother Paul Raj.